We're very excited to talk with you guys today. So let's go ahead and get right into it. If you haven't met me before, my name is Cody. I'm the Manager of Education here at Duda. And with me today, I'm very excited. We have Itai Sadan.
Hey, Cody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on this webinar.
If you haven't met Itai before, he's our chief dude. He's the co-founder and CEO of Duda, so we're really excited to be able to talk with him today.
Yeah, it should be fun.
All right, so let's go over our agenda. So we're going to talk a little bit, if you're new to Duda, we'll talk a little bit about what Duda is. Then we're going to go ahead and get into Mobilegeddon. This is pretty exciting stuff that's going on and what we can expect for the new Mobilegeddon that's happened. We'll talk a little bit about who should be concerned about this, who's going to be affected, and what Google's recommendations are for you guys for having websites, for creating mobile-friendly websites, and how to let Google know that you're meeting their requirements. And then we'll talk a little bit about how this affects our agencies and resellers, and then keep it to conclusions and then open up for questions. So as we go through the webinar, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions box, and then Itai and I will save time towards the end of the webinar to go through and answer as many of your questions as we can. So if you do have something burning question, go ahead and type it in. Also, we want to let you know this webinar is being recorded, so we will send out a replay to everyone who's registered for the webinar, so you'll receive that replay automatically tomorrow. So if you have to leave early or whatever, or if you show up late, you will receive a recording. So Itai, tell us a little bit about Duda.
Yeah, so I started Duda about 6.5 years ago. We are a responsive website builder platform targeting web professionals and agencies worldwide. We have today over 5,000 agencies and digital marketers around the world using our platform. You can see some of the bigger, more kind of well-known names in the logos below. There's been over 9 million sites that have been built to this date on the platform, and we're headquartered here in the Silicon Valley with an R&D office in Tel Aviv.
Fantastic. Yeah, I really like Duda. If you guys, fun fact, I've been with Duda since 2011. So.
Yeah, you were one of the early guys.
Yeah, coming up on five.
Remember those days?
Yeah, sitting in 500 startups.
Yeah, that was cool.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. This is, I think, the question that's on everyone's mind is, what is Mobilegeddon? Well, let's see. Let's go back. What's Mobilegeddon, the original one?
Yeah, so about a year ago now, exactly in April 2015, Google introduced a change to the algorithm, basically the algorithm that defines the results that you see when you do a search for any keywords. And what they said is, going forward, mobile friendliness is going to become a very material ranking signal in the way that the results are displayed. So since that day, basically, if you do not have a mobile-friendly site, it means that more than likely that Google is penalizing you for that, and your site or your content will display lower in search results. Actually, Duda did a study of that back then, right after the change was announced in 2015. We looked at over 4,000 sites, and we measured traffic to those sites 3 weeks before April 21st and 3 weeks after. And these were all our sites, so they were all mobile friendly. And what we discovered is that they saw on average an 11% lift in the amount of traffic that they were getting post the Mobilegeddon SEO update. And what we figured is basically, since there were enough sites out there in the world that were not mobile friendly, our sites that are on our platform saw a benefit out of that change, and their ranking increased.
Okay, so at the same time, to get back to Itai's point, so other sites are going down in rank, but Duda sites, because we are actually mobile friendly, we're meeting the new standards, actually had on average about an 11% uplift, which is pretty interesting. Cool. So what did so this happened back on April 2015.
Yeah.
Since then, Google's kind of continued on this trend. Back in October of last year, they actually started the Google AMP project, Google AMP, which is more for publishers to create like really fast-loading pages, everything. So they're kind of continuing to invest more in mobile and to really say mobile is important. Let's start with Mobilegeddon. Let's move to AMP. And now in 2016, we're having Mobilegeddon 2. So what can we kind of expect for what's going to happen with Mobilegeddon 2?
Yeah, so basically Google announced on their blog that there's going to be another update to the algorithm, and that same ranking signal of mobile friendliness is becoming even more important. So what this means, if you haven't up until now made sure that your site is mobile friendly, you should really take this seriously. If you're a gambling man, you're betting against mobile, the odds that your site is going to be penalized have just gotten worse. So I'm sure like the folks on our call are all very much aware, but if they know of anybody who hasn't made their site mobile friendly, now is the time to urge that person to take that step and ensure that they're giving a great optimized view of their site.
Yeah, it's really the time to double down, because Google's doubling down, right? They're doing the same thing and they're investing more in it. So let's talk a little bit about who this is going to affect, like who's going to be affected by Mobilegeddon 2.0.
Yeah. So essentially anyone who doesn't have a mobile-friendly website. If you're a Duda customer, either if you're Duda 1 with a responsive website or you have a Duda mobile-only website with us, that meets the Google guidelines and you will not be affected negatively by this change.
Right, but like we mentioned earlier, you might be affected positively because of everyone else not being mobile-friendly and going down a little bit, right?
Totally.
Okay, cool. That's because the algorithm favors that. So if you're not sure if you're going to be affected, you can actually check your site yourself on Google's mobile-friendly tools. So we have a link here. So we'll go ahead. We'll send the deck out to everyone after the webinar too. So that'll be a download in the same follow-up email that the replay will be in. And you can go ahead and just link to that or just copy this address. Check out your site. See if it's mobile-friendly if you're not sure. All right.
So, Cody, I'm sure like a lot of people on the call are a little bit more technical and are really interested to know what is Google actually testing in that mobile-friendly test. What are they looking for when they assess if a site is mobile-friendly or not?
Sure. Yeah. So Google's actually released some guidelines to let website owners know what they need to do to meet Google's requirements and tell Google that their site is mobile friendly. So we're going to go through these. If you haven't, we actually covered some of these in our previous Mobilegeddon webinar, but the standards are exactly the same now. So it'll be a little bit of a review if you saw them before, and if you're new to this, this is really good stuff to know. And this is actually what Google's looking for, and these are all ranking indicators according to Google. And the first one is that you actually need to have a mobile friendly design. So they're actually looking at, in the Google bot, it's now checking out your styles and your website layout to see if your design works well on mobile. Are buttons and text spaced too close together? So maybe a person tapping it might accidentally click the wrong link. If so, that's a bad design. Google wants you to space it out and make it more thumb-friendly. They're looking for larger fonts that are readable on small devices. That 8-pixel font probably isn't going to be too readable on most modern smartphones. So we'd recommend something like 14 or 16 pixel fonts to start with to make it readable on a mobile device. Also, you don't want any content that's larger than the screen it's being viewed on. You don't want people to be put in a situation where they're going to have to scroll the content horizontally. They don't want to have to move left and right. You just want someone to be able to use their thumb to flick up and down to see your content. And one of the easiest ways to do this and to tell that this has been done is to go ahead and set the viewport tag. And this is something that we do at Duda for both to our responsive website builder and our mobile website builder, so that that viewport is locked to a nice mobile-friendly size. The second thing is they're looking for any sort of mobile faux pas, any little mobile mistakes, putting in content from Flash, which doesn't display on mobile devices.
People still do that. I'm sure Steve Jobs killed that a while ago.
The internet is a large place. there are people doing all sorts of things you wouldn't believe on the internet, and putting Flash on mobile sites is one.
Big no-no.
Big no-no, yeah. So definitely avoid Flash. Also, pop-ups. We've actually added pop-ups to Duda. but that's more for desktop use. What Google's really looking for is when someone loads a mobile site for the first time, you have a pop-up show up right off the bat, especially a pop-up that's an interstitial that really advertises to download your app or something like that. Google said that they just don't like it when people do that. So steer clear of that. And the third one here is poorly sized embeds. And what that means is if you're bringing in third-party code, for example, if you're embedding a widget from a different website like a calendar or a scheduling app or an ordering app or something like that from someone else, and you're taking and copy-pasting someone else's code and embedding it into your site, make sure that that code, that iframe, is fit in a way that displays well on mobile, because it might not be. It might not be responsive. It might not be mobile-friendly, and so that's something to keep an eye for, because that could break that great experience that they're looking for on mobile for your visitors. The third one here is Google actually wants you to communicate that you have this mobile-friendly setup, and there's three main methods that they're looking for. The first one is responsive, and what that means is a single code base, so the same set of HTML and CSS and JavaScript that resizes itself based on the device that's being viewed on. It uses a technology called media queries to figure out, okay, this is the size of the screen, let's go ahead and resize our content. So that's one thing that they're looking for. The second would be, the second option you have to be mobile friendly is using a technology called dynamic serving. And so that's the same sort of responsive technology, but one step past that with server-side support that actually detects the device that's being used and then changes up the content based on the device that's being used. And that's responsive with server-side support. You'll hear this called REST, and that's what Duda uses.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Which we feel this is the best option because you have responsive plus server-side support. And then the third and final way is to use a separate dedicated mobile site, and that's like you'll see that with m.yoursite.com. That's when you have a separate mobile site with a separate mobile subdomain, and then you're redirecting mobile traffic to that separate mobile site.
That's our Duda mobile product.
Exactly, that's our Duda mobile product. So you can see down in the image down here, I've got very user agent, and that's how you communicate. That's how we communicate that we're using dynamic serving. So all of our responsive websites have that on there, and then all of our separate mobile sites use a redirect that you can see that there is a mobile version dedicated for it. So either way, you're covered if you're using Duda for those. And while we're on this topic, I think I want to talk a little bit about, there's a myth. Some people say that having a responsive website is better for your SEO than having just a mobile-friendly website. And the plain fact is that that's not true. Google doesn't really care which one that you have. They say that they recommend responsive technology over just mobile technology, but neither one of them is a heavier ranking indicator as far as search results go.
Totally correct. That's not part of the signal.
Right. It's not part of the signal. They just want you to have a mobile-friendly experience, whether it's mobile-friendly, responsive, or dynamic serving. Either one of those is just fine. So the next thing you're going to do is if you have a mobile-only site, Google wants you to avoid what are called faulty redirects. And that's when you're sending your mobile traffic from the desktop site to the mobile version of the site. They want you making sure that you're sending them to the mobile version of the page they were trying to access. So for example, if they go to the home page, send them to the mobile version of the home page. But if they try to access some sub-page or other page on the site, don't send them back to the home page or the mobile version of the home page. Send them to the mobile version of the page they were trying to access. So Google doesn't like it when you do this. This is something that a lot of people first started doing when mobile-friendly became a thing. But it prevents people from getting the content they want. Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, totally. Like if you're sending me the analysis of the last game between Golden State and Portland, and instead of reading the article, I'm getting to the homepage of ESPN. That's just a bad experience.
Yeah, no, and then how are you going to find that article? You're not. It's terrible. So Google's smart. They're looking out for that good experience for that user. So this is something to keep in mind. And by default, on Duda Mobile, we take care of this. Our redirect is contextual and sends them to the correct page. The fifth thing, specifically related to mobile sites, since you do have a separate domain or a separate subdomain set up for the mobile site, there is the potential to get a duplicate content penalty there. So Google's looking for a canonical tag that lets Google know this is the mobile version of this desktop site. So as long as you have a canonical tag set up, then you're in your mobile site, Google's going to understand that it's the mobile optimized experience and not give you that duplicate content penalty. And so in all of our mobile sites, we do set that up automatically. Number 6 is making sure all your site resources are crawlable. So it used to be in the past, you can use a file called robots.txt to let search engines know what files and directories and folders on your website you want them to have access to and which ones they should ignore. And it used to be pretty common for people to tell search engines to ignore their CSS files or their JavaScript if it's in a separate file because it's not part of the content of the site. It just styles and code. But now, since Google's trying to determine if you have a mobile-friendly design, if you have a mobile-friendly experience, they actually want to see that code. They want to try to render it to see what your experience is like. So if in the past you've had this stuff blocked, you need to unblock it and remove it from your robots.txt file so Google can access it and they can figure out if you have a mobile-friendly version of your site or not. All right, and finally, number 7, mobile page speed. So this is a minor indicator, but this is something that Google is looking at, which is the load time. It's how much time it takes your website to load both on desktop and on a mobile phone. And overall, Duda sites actually work pretty well. So our mobile sites are averaging 71 out of 100, and Duda One desktop sites are averaging 86 out of 100. Now, if you're like me, and you see these and you think, 71 out of 100, 86 out of 100, that's like B and C level, right? But if you actually take a look at it, if you look at how other major sites with lots and lots of resources stack up, you'll see they're about the same, or actually maybe not quite as good. So if you look at sites like Amazon, Yahoo, eBay, Craigslist, Wikipedia, they're all in the 70s and 80s as far as desktop goes. And mobile, most of them are in the 60s, some of them are actually in the 50s. So our websites actually are really on the higher side of these scores. And so go ahead, plug yours into Google's mobile page speed, and I figured I'd just see what Google ranked themselves as, and they're pretty tough on themselves, right? 79 out of 100 for their own mobile site. So you could go ahead and check that out yourself. So go ahead, put your site in there. Don't be too bummed if you don't get 100 out of 100. You're probably not going to. So that is something to be aware of. But there's a link right here, so when you guys get the deck, you can go ahead and test your sites yourselves. Okay, so now that I've bored everyone to death with all the technical stuff, Itai, let's talk a little bit about why Google's doing this, why they're setting this up, and what they're trying to achieve out of this.
Yeah, so what Google's basically saying is that they want good, relevant answers when you search, and you should be always striving to give the end users the best possible answer, regardless of what device they're using, if it's a phone, desktop, or tablet.
Mm-hmm. So what's when you say the best answer, like what do you mean by that? What does that mean?
So Google is basically saying that the user shouldn't suffer because your content doesn't work well on their device. Users deserve to get the best answer possible, and if your content isn't available in an optimized way, Google is just not going to deliver it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're saying that that people are looking for answers. That's their customers, their search users, right? And that they want you to deliver that in an optimized way. And if you're not, then people aren't getting their answers. Their customers are suffering, and you need to shape up or ship out, right?
Totally.
Cool. So we might have some people on the call that are resellers that are making websites for other people. How should they be talking about this with their customers?
Right. Yeah, I think this is actually a great opportunity to talk to your customers or your prospects about it. If you have prospect customers that have been laggards or they're on the fence, they haven't moved ahead, and their sites are still not mobile friendly, getting this extra nudge from Google can help you get them over that hurdle and kind of show the urgency of that it's now really time to make sure that your site is mobile friendly. And for your existing customers, I think it's great to position yourself as a thought leader. Don't let them ping you and ask you, is my site ready? Put yourself, be proactive, run the Google mobile friendly test that you showed before. Maybe send it to them, show them that you're thinking of them, that whatever you built for them actually performs well, and they have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So be proactive and use that to your advantage.
So I actually ran the test on my website,
Okay.
on codysummer.com, and it gives me this nice little friendly, awesome, this page is mobile friendly, it's got a little screenshot, there's me, and there's my little mobile version of my site. This is like a really fun thing to receive. So like, I would think if you're sending this to your customers, this is a great thing for them to see. It's just going to make them feel like, hey, this person's really on top of it. They really know what's going on, and they're taking care of me. So that would be a great thing to send over.
Yeah, I'd like it if you sent it to me.
So speaking of agencies that are working with lots of clients, so this is another change. Google's made several changes recently, like we talked about with the first Mobilegeddon, with AMP. Now they have Mobilegeddon 2. What can agencies do to really kind of future-proof themselves or protect themselves from having to make major changes every time Google has an update?
Yeah, it's kind of really, it's a good question. It's really hard to tell what changes Google is going to do to the algorithm. They're not always that open, and they don't always share the changes. Actually, when they do share, like in this instance, it means that you need to take it seriously, that they want people to take it seriously. They're telling us, and they're giving us usually deadlines to prepare.
Because Google doesn't usually give advance notice.
Yeah.
It's like not in their history. Yeah.
So I think kind of in general, try to avoid the short-term hacks. I think kind of chasing the algorithm, it's again that it's really hard to win. You have the smartest engineers in Google all the time updating that algorithm. It's really smart in understanding websites. It's getting smarter every day. They have tons of data. So the best way, instead of chasing the algorithm, is just think of what is actually best for the user. If you have the user in mind all the time, you will be doing the right things according to Google.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important because you hear about these people that spend time trying to SEO and trying to tweak keyword densities and things like that to try to hack SEO, right? There's all sorts of tips and tricks, black hat forums, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're gonna lose. Google's got a lot of smart people trying to figure out how to get the best content to their search users, and they're coming up with new stuff like machine learning algorithms. Like if you guys haven't heard of RankBrain, just go give Google RankBrain. It's part of Hummingbird now, and it's changing the way that search results work. So they're constantly changing. You're never going to keep up with that. So if you're making great content, like Itai says, Google's going to change their algorithm to serve your content to search users. So Itai, what would you say are some of the important key takeaways for people to keep on Google's good side?
Right. So I think really there's three main things. First of all, content is always king. Right? You have to have the best answer for the questions that people are asking. Second thing is make sure that the content loads fast. We talked about page speed. I think that Google is just going to increase, and the performance of how fast your page is loading is going to become more and more increasingly important. And third thing, make sure that the content you're displaying is designed well for all devices. If you keep kind of these three guidelines in mind, I think you will always do on Google's better side.
Right, and this is exactly what Duda really allows you to do. It lets you take your content and create a great experience with it. We have tools that work for mobile devices, tablets, desktop. So you can take that great quality content and you can deliver it in a great experience to everyone on any device. And so that's really, at the end of the day, what Google's looking for, and it's what Duda allows you to do. So let's take a look here. So anyone here who is making websites for other people, if you haven't heard of Duda Pro, that's our reseller program. Duda does offer a reseller program. It comes with a full suite of white label editor and tools to help you be successful selling websites to your customers. We've got content import, priority telephone support, discounted pricing, and a lot of great stuff. We have a quote here from one of our resellers who says he can make websites about half the time with Duda versus making them with WordPress. So if you haven't heard of our reseller program, please check it out. It's dudamobile.com/DudaPro. You can sign up for a one-on-one talk with one of our folks. They'll give you a free trial, and you can test it out yourself for a month. So if you haven't heard of it, or if you sell websites to other people, this is something you might be interested in. So that's our plug. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We're going to open it up for questions now. So if you have questions for me or the big boss man here, Itai, now's the time to go ahead and put them into the questions box, and we'll start taking your questions here in just a minute.
Let's see, what do we have here?
All right, let's take a look here.
Lots of people saying yes, they can hear us.
Well, that's lots of people.
Here's the questions.
Okay. Let's see, George is asking, is there a negative to testing with Google if you're not mobile friendly? Absolutely not. There's no reason to not test your site with Google. Google actually put out that tool so you can see if you're mobile friendly or not, and if you're not mobile friendly, to give you some advice to try to fix it. So they're not going to penalize it if you just go and check your site. Ron is asking, it might be a dumb question, but in a statement you stated Google's changing algorithms, and you say that they keep that a tight-lipped secret. How do you know the info or its correctness? Well, Ron, pretty simple. I mean, I understand, and that's a really great question. If you go to Google's webmaster blog, Google actually wrote a blog post saying, hey, everyone, we're going to be changing our algorithm to do this thing, and this is approximately when we're going to be changing it. So actually, Google themselves wrote up a blog post talking about this stuff, and so you can check it at Google Webmaster Central, and that's the post that we got some information for this.
And actually, there was also a second question here that is there a penalty for dynamic sites versus mobile separate sites? We actually addressed that, and no, there is no penalty. Both options are totally fine from Google's perspective. You know, some of the biggest brands in the world still have an n-dot site. Both options are good as long as it's mobile friendly.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Paul, you're asking some questions about your law firm's website. You're having some issues, and you said you've been reaching out to our support. Yeah, if you're having issues contacting support, just feel free to go ahead and send me an email. It's cody@dudamobile.com, and I'll talk with our support team and see if we can get you some help. Let's see. Brian's saying that they're still seeing local companies that aren't mobile friendly actually ranking higher than mobile friendly competition. So you're trying to convert them, but they don't see any need because they're still ranking higher. So I think that's a really good point, Brian, that needs to be brought up, that mobile friendliness is very important, but it's not a replacement for having great quality content. You can have circumstances where someone has such good quality content or is so reputable and that they have all the other major indicators that they still will rank higher than someone else who, while having a mobile-friendly site, doesn't have as much of the other stuff, the other major indicators. And so that's still going to happen. So you're still going to have that. The answer is to try to help out your other clients, try to help them become more reputable, have them have great content. And in the case of these other people who are still ranking higher, they are for now, but in the long run, you need to be talking to them about, well, how are you converting the people who are coming from mobile search? If you don't have a mobile optimized experience for them, you may be losing business, you may be losing customers because you don't have an optimized experience for those potential visitors. And what would you do if you could boost up your sales 10% or 20% by switching to an optimized experience? So that's kind of the route I would take when talking with them.
So we have here another question from Karen Rosenberg, and the question was, originally Mobilegeddon was more important to medium to large businesses. Is that changing now to more small businesses? I think the change was relevant for all businesses. Actually, the study that we did actually showed that the lift that was seen much more, the lift in terms of traffic. I mentioned 11% on average lift, but what we did see is that the smaller sites that were mobile optimized actually got a slightly larger lift than the bigger sites. So I would say it's always been important for all sizes of businesses, big and small.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point. Yeah, that you bring up the figure, the 11%. So we're seeing about an 11% boost. So it's not going to take you from the 5th page of Google to the 1st page of Google. You know, it's an 11% boost, not a 100% or 200 or 300%. So there will still be other businesses that'll bump up there, but some of the other ones that aren't mobile friendly, that are maybe equivalent competitors, those are going to drop down and you're going to go up. Serena's saying, of mobile site done through Duda, it looks like a subdomain of Duda. How can we make it a subdomain of our website? You can actually create a subdomain on your website, just m.whatever your domain.com is, and we have instructions set up on our support portal. You can contact our support team, and they'll help you set up that custom domain. Let's see, when is this going to be implemented? Craig is asking. So Google in their blog post said May. So we would expect, our guess would be, they're going to start to roll it out this month, and it'll probably be phased. Because if you think Google's a pretty big company, there's a lot of websites, so it's probably not going to be like a light switch. It's probably going to come, they're going to roll it out over the course of May. Let's see. Faith is asking, what is the Flash you say we need to avoid? Flash is made by Adobe Flash. You used to see this all the time on the internet for slideshows, for videos, for little animated menus, all sorts of stuff like that. And it's just a proprietary technology, and it doesn't work on smartphones. It doesn't work on smartphones at all. So if you have that content, someone tries to load it up on a smartphone, on an iPhone or an Android, they're just not going to see whatever that content was in Flash. It's just part of your site's going to be missing. So it's a terrible experience. And it's not only missing for your site visitors, it's also missing as far as Google's concerned. So whatever content you had inside of there is missing as far as SEO benefit as well. So there's just really no reason to have anything in Flash on your website. Lynn is asking, what's the acronym for dynamic server? That's RESS, R-E-S-S. Carlos is asking, is there an advantage to using Duda Mobile versus WordPress, which includes mobile formatting?
You want me to take that?
Yeah.
We have a lot of WordPress customers who've built their desktop site in WordPress and then used Duda Mobile for mobile. I believe the main reason for that is that they felt that there's more flexibility in terms of the mobile that Duda provides compared to what WordPress provides. And they wanted to have that ability to really tailor the user experience on mobile and perhaps on tablet in ways that WordPress didn't allow them.
Yeah, I think if you look, I think that's one of our main benefits over WordPress is Duda's just a heck of a lot easier to use. But you can drag and drop things around. It's always the same. It's not different depending on the theme that you're using on WordPress. You have a lot more control over where your content goes and what it looks like. So I think that's our big benefit over WordPress. Chris is asking, is a YouTube link a Flash? No, a link to YouTube is just a normal URL, so that's not Flash. When you embed YouTube into your site now, they use a technology called an iframe, and for the most part it's mobile friendly. YouTube has HTML5 video instead of Flash video now for mobile phones, so that should be A-okay.
David Clemens is asking, what does it mean to get 71 out of 100 in that page speed test?
That's just your score. That's out of 100% possible points, you scored 71 of them, and that's just a way to determine for your own benefit how fast your site is loading on mobile. And if you go and you check Google's own mobile site, it's 79 out of 100. So it just kind of lets you know how you're doing, and so if you go and you make some changes that they recommend, you can go back, test your site again, and see if your score improves. And of course, the faster your score, the happier Google is as far as the page speed goes.
A related question here by Nora. What is Google's preferred mobile page speed?
I haven't read anything that says that they have like a preferred like number that they want you to hit. I'm sure as high as possible is what they want. Rick is saying, regarding SEO and blocking, I commonly remove old pages and hide them in a sandbox directory, removing the SEO. Can we still do this? Should I hide these behind a hidden password-protected directory instead? Yeah, if you want to remove the old pages and into an old sandbox directory and block them with the robots.txt file, you can still do this for sure. The part about the robots.txt was just to unblock your any pages you still want to rank in Google organically, to unblock the CSS and JavaScript, so Google can tell that there's a mobile-friendly version of it.
Right, and the one thing not to do is just to block it on mobile, right? This relates to what we talked about, where the URL would work on desktop and there wouldn't be a URL to redirect on mobile. That's not a recommended behavior. If you're blocking a page, it should not be available on any device.
Right. Yeah. You don't want any faulty redirects there.
Exactly.
Let's see. What is the difference between, Craig is asking, what's the difference between Mobilegeddon 1.0 and 2.0? Is Google dropping non-mobile friendly websites for mobile devices now, or just demoting them further?
Yeah, I can take that. Essentially, it touches the same part of the algorithm that is related to mobile friendliness. I think what Google is basically saying is that signal for mobile friendliness is going to have a larger weight in the overall results in the overall search results. So it means basically, if we translate it in another way, is that maybe if you've been able to get away with it up until now with not being mobile friendly, the penalties are going to be more severe, and your ranking is going to get further hurt from not being mobile optimized.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Patrick is asking how this affects Bing. This doesn't affect Bing, it's only for Google. And Samantha is saying, do you have any advice for fixing issues with the Google page speed test, specifically the render blocking JavaScript? Unfortunately, now we don't, with Duda sites, we don't have a way to fix the render blocking JavaScript. Something we talked to our CTO about, and they're looking at a potential fix for down the road for that. But really, it's the sites are still really fast, and it's kind of a different. It's kind of a bigger change to make in how the pages display, and so right now it's going to stay as is, as we have some other priorities, but it's something we're going to re-examine a little further down the road. Dina is saying, my clients have asked, is a mobile site enough without a full responsive site? Absolutely. And in terms of this Mobilegeddon change, Google just wants to see that you have a mobile experience for mobile search users, whether that's a mobile-friendly site, a responsive site, or a dynamic serving site like Duda, Duda's responsive site. Any of those is absolutely A-OK as far as Google goes, as long as it's mobile-friendly.
Right. Yeah. The advantages of having a responsive site are not going to affect anything related to Google's search results. It's if you're building a new site today, I believe the best course would be to build a fully responsive site that is desktop, tablet, and mobile-friendly from the get-go, easier to maintain than having two separate sites.
Absolutely. Panos is saying, out of the total traffic to my website, mobile traffic has more than doubled since January 2015. Does this represent a general trend, or is it specific to my site?
Yeah, actually, this is a great question. We're looking at a very large amount of sites that are receiving traffic on Duda. These are hundreds of thousands of sites, and we're seeing exactly the same thing. Mobile traffic overall, as a percent of the total traffic that sites are getting, is just increasing. So the stats that are out there, I believe, are completely accurate, where mobile traffic in general has already eclipsed desktop traffic. And most sites today on the internet are getting more mobile traffic than any other type of traffic.
I think it's a trend that's going to continue for quite some time. Right.
For sure.
Irvin, you're asking, can web security or SSL be added to Duda One? That's a fantastic question. We're actually, with this latest release that we released on Sunday, just on May 8th, we will start beta testing our SSL, HTTPS. It's going to be, we're beta testing it over the next few days, and within a couple weeks, we hope to have that available for everyone to use. So that's a little sneak peek for those of you who are in the webinar that will be coming within a couple weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think we're probably the first website builder that is going to be providing HTTPS, SSL for basically for free to all our users.
Don't spoil all the good stuff, Itai.
You need to give something to the people who are on this call, right?
Yeah, okay.
So, a little bit of a sneak peek.
Yeah, there's good stuff coming, guys.
Yeah.
Nika is saying, can we get a copy of the slide deck? Absolutely. I'm going to include the PDF as a download with the email that we send out to everyone tomorrow. RankBrain, yep, Bonnie, that's RankBrain is part of Google's part of Hummingbird now. It's their machine learning algorithm. So Google it. Forbes did a really great write-up on RankBrain and what it means, but they're doing some cool stuff over there at Google. Bonnie is agreeing with you emphatically, saying great content will never be penalized by Google. That is very true.
Wow, this here's another hard question. Is there any future competition to Google coming? Is Google so dominant? Is Google the world? This is too difficult for me. I'm going to hand this over to you, Cody.
That's a really great question. I think probably yes, but not in the way that you're thinking. So like when people think of competition to Google, they think of like Bing or maybe DuckDuckGo. The play fact is Google has really cornered the search engine market. What's competing with Google now is they're really fighting for the web and the internet. And what's challenging Google is a lot of people are now accessing the internet also through apps, through going to their social media, through Facebook apps, Facebook Messenger, things like that. So some traffic is going to that. And Google's trying to say like, hey, the web is still really important, and we want to make sure that you're using it and using it correctly. And that's part of Google's big push for everyone being mobile friendly, because when you're on a device, they want the internet to be just as accessible as all those custom tailored apps that everyone else has. So that's really what Google's concerned about, and that's what they're trying to do.
Bob Peterson is asking, I would like to develop or modify Duda sites on my iPad. Are you working on making this happen? Really great question. There's actually a lot of discussion and thought about this. We can't share anything at the moment, but it's definitely very high on our roadmap to allow editing and seeing different information about your website on mobile devices. So keep tuned, and as soon as we can share something, we will.
Good question. Tyler, you're asking, on the pop-up note, does this include pop-ups created with Insight? How do you disable these on mobile only? That's a really great question. So when you go to create the Insight and you're choosing to display the pop-up, when you're choosing the triggers, choose the device trigger, and you can choose to have it only display on desktop or desktop and tablet and to not display on mobile, and that way the pop-up won't display on mobile. So it's really simple to do. And if you need some help with that, feel free to contact the support team. They'd be happy to show you how to do that. We already talked about render block and JavaScript. Same thing for minifying. Yeah, so all these little, we're aware of the recommendations that Google is going to show if you put a Duda site into the paid speed test. So we're taking a look at that, and as soon as we can make some changes there, we will. David is asking, will video load also be rated for speed? Does specific content like video also get hit by Google? That's a good question. See, your video is not going to play or shouldn't be playing automatically when someone comes to your site, so the load time of the video is really not going to be a factor there. Now, if your video is on a site like YouTube, Google will rank that YouTube page, but they're doing it not based on the content of the video. They're basing it on like the description, title of the video, number of views, and other links to that page. So make sure you have some text information to go along with the video. Otherwise, you're going to have a very hard time getting ranked.
Okay. Bonnie Clayton is asking, I use Duda Mobile quite a bit for clients without a mobile site and love it. Is Duda One end user friendly? Would my clients be able to make basic changes on their own, or would they be dependent on me? Excellent question, and if you should really look into our Duda Pro reseller program, because this is exactly the features that are available through our Duda Pro program. It basically makes the Duda editor white label, so you can give your customer's client access. You have a lot of control in terms of what in terms of roles and authorization levels of what you want to allow them to do. So you might allow them to only edit page, change images, but you won't. You can disable their ability to really damage the site by unpublishing it or deleting it. So all that is available. Go check out, look for Duda Pro on our website.
Great question. So Mary Teresa is asking full address, SSL, and HTTPS. We already did, but since you were so emphatic, Mary, I decided we'd just mention it again. We do have the SSL and HTTPS coming very, very soon. Right. John is also asking if we sell domain names also. And this is an interesting question. So while Duda itself, we do not sell domain names. We've just added a new partnership with Hover, which is a domain registrar. You can actually purchase a domain name from Hover right from the Duda publish flow. So as you're publishing your website and you're choosing the custom domain, you can select to buy a domain from Hover. You'll get taken through their purchase flow to buy your domain from Hover, and then you click one button, and then your Duda website will be connected to your Hover domain and get set up for you automatically, which is amazing. So if you didn't hear me and you're not taking advantage of that, you can now buy your domains from Hover, which is a really great domain host, and then automatically set up your Duda site to connect with it. So it's all set up on your Hover domain. So it's available right now inside the Duda publish flow. So Phil is asking, I use pop-up videos on display. Should I not use them on tablet or mobile? I'd say that, yeah, if you're using pop-up videos, take them off of your mobile devices. Your tablet's probably okay, but I'd take it off the mobile for sure, at least displaying automatically. You can still use pop-ups, but just make sure the user has to take an action before that gets displayed.
There's a question, can you share the agency reseller pricing? So essentially, you can see the pricing on our website. And just to summarize, our reseller pricing, there's a one-time, an annual recurring fee of $249 to be in the Duda Pro reseller program. What that gives you is access to multiple features that I recently mentioned, like white label, customer-facing dashboard, a 30% discount per site, and many great support, great sales materials that you can use and share with your customers. So there's a lot of stuff there. Take a look at it, and if you have any information, if you have any further questions, you can reach out to our folks in the support team.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help you out. And if you have more questions, that one-on-one would be really useful. So head to dudamobile.com/DudaPro. David is saying, Google is really important to us regarding SEO, but how does Duda separate the analytics between mobile and desktop, and how do we operate those? So Duda actually records analytics in our own platform. We use a really great analytics technology called Snowplow, and we actually separate that out. So you can see how much traffic goes to your desktop site, how much goes to your tablet site, how much goes to your mobile site, what people are doing on all three. You can combine them together. We have a really fantastic analytics dashboard built into Duda that you can use. If you'd like to use Google's analytics, we actually have an integration that you can just enter your UA ID into your Duda site, and Google, and we'll send the stats to Google. We'll record all the stats on your site as well, so you can check them both out if you want. Taylor is asking if we can tell him about our SEO tools. Yeah, so we have a bunch of SEO tools and optimizations built into the platform. So number one, we give every site built on the Duda platform a full XML sitemap. So just whatever your domain is .com/sitemap.xml. Every time you publish that site, we go ahead and submit that sitemap to both Google and Bing. On each page, you have the option to adjust the page title, descriptions, meta keywords, all the metadata on a page-by-page level, as well as add alt text for images and everything else. So there's really a bunch of SEO options and features that you can use within the Duda platform to make sure your content is optimized as much as possible for the search engines.
There's a question here from Francois. How is Duda faster than WordPress? Which is a very good question. When we talk about Duda being faster than WordPress, a lot of times we allude to the process of actually building the site. So we have multiple technologies inside Duda that really help web designers and agencies build websites faster. We have a few case studies which you can find on our resource center that actually customers are telling us that it has taken them 50% less time to build a site on Duda compared to WordPress. And I think these savings from what I'm hearing are coming from things like our import content capabilities. So that's our ability to automatically, once you put in the URL of an existing site, we just pull in all the images, the text, the content from the website, and make it really easily accessible to the web designer. So kind of it cuts the time that it takes you to that back and forth with the customer around images and content. You just have it all there inside our content library that you can use. There's multiple other things, of course. On WordPress, you have to do a lot of the installation, customization. A lot of time is wasted there, finding plugins. Here, this is all embedded into our tool. There's no installation. It's a SaaS cloud product. And yeah, it makes it really, from a design perspective, it's all drag and drop. You don't really need to code with Duda. You can if you really love it. You can get into the CSS or to the HTML, but you don't really need. In WordPress, once you kind of want to veer away a little bit from the theme or the template, pretty quickly you need to get into the code there and no PHP. So I think kind of in really in a nutshell, I think that kind of wrapped up the main advantages. Cuddy, anything you would add there?
I would say that another big one from when I was talking with WebAct, who's one of our resellers, right. He mentioned that one of the big ones was when they have a WordPress install on a client site and they install a theme on it, every time WordPress releases an update, they have a client that goes in there, logs in, sees the new version of WordPress, they update it, and then it breaks either the theme or one of the plugins they have installed, and you just don't have to worry about that with Duda.
Yeah, there's a big problem there. What I'm hearing with a lot of plugins that were developed a few years ago. It was a kind of a side fun project by a developer, and it's no longer supported. And suddenly your customers are running into problems of installing widgets that no longer have support, and creating problems. And many times these could be serious security problems. So we've read a lot about hacks and a lot of these sites being DDoSed and etc.
Yeah, that's actually a big concern, especially if you're using like free WordPress themes. I've seen lots of blog articles where they actually look into the code of those and find a lot of malicious content. And I used to build sites with WordPress before I worked at Duda and before Duda started selling websites. And I can tell you just personally, and yes, I have a bias because I work here, but Duda is just so much faster and easier than using WordPress to build websites, and it's just a much more pleasurable experience. So.
Yeah. And I think WordPress definitely has its place. It's a very popular platform, and I think it's the matter of using the right tool for the right job. So once you need to build a super custom website with interfacing with databases, very interactive, maybe that is the right way to go. But most SMB sites are simpler sites, 5 to 10 pages, and you really want to get kind of the work done fast and be able to maintain your margins, and Duda allows you to do that.
Exactly. Great question. Aiden, you're asking a question. You're saying, what exactly does doubling down by Google mean? So that is a blackjack analogy. If you've been to a card table, the game of blackjack is it's just you're betting even more on the current bet that you're already making. So they're just investing more into mobile. So they started with Mobilegeddon 1.0 a year ago, and now they're saying, yep, all the same stuff, but stronger penalties for not being mobile friendly. We've given you a year to make your sites mobile, and we were pretty lackadaisical last time. We were pretty easy on you then, but now we're going to be tougher. You really need to be mobile friendly this time. Nora's asking if we have a doc or a link we recommend for good content best practice. That's a really good question because there's no one single answer for a good content best practice. I could tell you, right, you make sure you have at least 500 words or 800 words, but it's kind of like answering how long is a piece of string. There's not going to be really one answer. I think the best thing is write as much as you need to write to make sure your content's as valuable as possible. Share it with enough people that you're getting links pointing back to it. And that's going to serve you well. If my guideline for really great content is Wikipedia. If you Google something or a topic or a person, Wikipedia is probably going to be one of the top results. It's because they have a lot of content, have a lot of writing about it, they have a lot of valuable content. There's no fluff or advertising there. There's a lot of people that link to Wikipedia, and they're always on the first page of Google. So use them as a shining example of what to be.
So Patricio has a question here. Are there any irresistible offers to stay in this webinar? So, I was hoping, Cody, that kind of your words of wisdom would be sufficient for people to hang on and listen.
That should be compelling alone, right?
Yeah, our voices.
We got Itai here. He's our CEO. This is the big cheese. We don't get him in webinars every day, so.
But yeah, hang on in there if you're on our distribution list. Once in a while, every couple of months, we do have these great promos that come out, and once they do, please take advantage of them.
Yeah, very good. Greg is asking, can I host websites on my own hosting platform? No, Duda is a SaaS company, so the websites are hosted with us. That's actually part of the benefit. But we do give you access to the code if you need to change stuff. Someone's asking, if I have sitename.com, I make m.sitename.com my subdomain without buying it separately. Absolutely. It's just what's called a subdomain, and those are typically free in your domain host. You're using GoDaddy or One-in-One or Network Solutions. Those subdomains should be free to make, and then you'll actually point that subdomain to Duda servers. So when someone goes there, they'll be seeing the Duda mobile website, and then we give you a short piece of JavaScript that you copy-paste into your desktop site that sends the mobile traffic to that the mobile subdomain. So if you have some questions about setting that up, please contact our support team. They'll be happy to walk you through it.
And here's a question that kind of comes up again. Does having a separate mobile site, example m.website.com, lower Google rankings? And we've said it multiple times. No, this is perfectly fine. There's 3 ways to create a mobile optimized site, and m.dot is one of them, and there is no problem from Google's perspective. This will not lower your ranking.
Correct. Bill's asking, there are some common issues that Google's measuring and broadly many platforms are not achieving regarding loading speed. Do you see some of these being resolved? That's a really good question. Well, we're trying to make our sites load as quickly as possible. When you compare our sites to a lot of the averages, we're really coming out ahead of the pack, and we're definitely on the faster side of average in terms of sites from the other comparable builders to ours. As terms of changing some of these broader technologies that you're talking about, it does change the way our site builder works in some fundamental ways, and there's some cons to doing that as well, and right now we don't really think that the cons are really worth it, but it is something that we're definitely keeping an eye on. There's lots of people that ask us questions about their Google PageSpeed score, so we're definitely very aware of it, and we are keeping tabs on it, and as soon as it makes sense to move forward with some major changes there, we will do it, and I promise you, we will let you know as soon as we do. Alec is asking, Cody, can you please show slide number 1 again real quick? Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I could just go over here. There's a slide.
Is that the slide with our name or our picture?
I think that's the slide with our. Let's see. Let's go to slideshow here, and we'll just do a current slide. So yeah, this is their names on it. If you want to see our pictures, there you go. There's our beautiful mugs. All right. Let's see. Baron is asking, isn't a responsive design best because the page loads faster due to no redirects? That's a really good question, Baron. So there's an interesting pro and con to going with responsive only, and that's that you're loading the exact same amount of code whether it's a mobile phone or a desktop site. So you're actually loading all that desktop code every time that loads on mobile. So what's actually more efficient is using what's called dynamic serving, which is what Duda does, to identify the device and then load only the code that's needed for the device that's accessing the website. Mm-hmm. And so in order to do that, you actually have to take it one step further. You have to have what's called server-side or back-end support. It takes a bigger infrastructure to be able to put the technology together to make that happen, and that's what Duda does for you with all of our responsive sites. So it's a little bit better, it's a bit nicer, and it's a technology that was only in the past available to like bigger companies that did this sort of stuff.
Right.
John saying, I missed the first part of the webinar. Will Mobilegeddon 2 affect desktop search ranking 2? No, it's just for mobile. Chris is saying, I want to thank the founder and staff at Duda for giving a small business an easy way to make their desktop site mobile friendly. Thank you. Well, thank you, Chris.
That's great. We love to get those type of messages. Which feature in Duda is best for SEO? There was actually also a question, I think, before on what tools does Duda have in terms of SEO. Did you address that, right? So this sounds kind of similar. Do you want to touch on that again?
Yeah, so I'll mention like some of the highlights.
Yeah.
I think the best thing you can do for SEO is to go into Duda, and in each individual page, you can enter in a title, description, and keywords. So make sure you're entering a unique title and description for each page. The keywords don't matter, but you can fill them out if you want to. And then make sure all your images have descriptive alt text. Within Duda itself, make sure that you're structuring your content with H1s, H2s, H3s, different types of heading tags. And then finally, I think our coolest feature with regards to SEO is our automatic sitemaps. So we have an XML sitemap that's generated automatically and that we submit automatically to Google and Bing every time you publish. So I think all of those are super useful.
Right. There's a question here by Bert Peters. Is it possible to use Duda or otherwise make a site mobile friendly if the client is using a commercial site such as Wix.com? So I think the question is, if their desktop site has been built on a different platform, can they use specifically Duda Mobile in this case to create a mobile optimized site? And the answer is yes. We support many platforms in terms of mobilizing them. We have people who have built sites on WordPress and on Homestead and Yahoo website builder and a lot of other website builders, and are using us for mobile. I think you should also check our Duda One fully responsive website builder, which would be a great solution to kind of consolidate and have all your clients or your site on a single platform instead of dividing it between platforms.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Cameron is saying, you mentioned robots.txt is not a good way to block content from Google crawlers. Can you explain how Duda blocks individual pages using the Duda SEO section? Cameron, so just to clarify, what I was saying about robots.txt is not that it's not a good way to block content from Google. It's just to make sure that you're not blocking content from Google that Google's trying to access. So in the past, when people would build websites, you have a separate style sheet for your CSS, a separate JavaScript file for your JavaScript. It was common to list those in the robots.txt file so that Google wouldn't waste their time crawling it. It's not necessary for them to look at this code. You want Google to only focus on the pages and the content of your site. And so the thing to do, and what Google's saying now, is that you want to unblock those. You want to make sure Google can access those. So remove them from your robots.txt file. And so with Duda, if you have content you don't want Google to see, you can still add that to your robots.txt file. So you can, in any page of your site, you can add a no index right from the page settings option. So you can go ahead and remove that.
Okay.
Elle is asking, do you want to go over the difference between responsive and dynamic again? So responsive is a single code base, and how it works is it uses something called media queries to detect the screen size of the device that's viewing the site, and then it changes the arrangement of the content to match the screen size that's being looked at. With dynamic serving, it's the exact same technology, but it also looks at the screen size and the type of device before the code is loaded. So it's not only changing how the arrangement of the content, it's also removing or adding content based on the device so that you don't have extra large images that are loading or features or buttons or things that just aren't going to work on, like, for example, a click to call button. There's no need to have it on desktop, and there's no reason to have a super long form on mobile when maybe you just want to click the call button, or not have those really large images load up on mobile. So you can actually choose which content displays on which device, and you can do that because there's more technology behind it. Melissa's saying, thank you for the great presentation. Thank you, Melissa. I have a question. I have a mobile site with Duda, but it looks completely different and has separate content than our website. Will that affect the ranking of my site? That's really interesting. I'm trying to understand what your circumstance is to have a mobile site with different content than your actual website. But no, that shouldn't affect it. The type of penalty that people are typically going to run into there is having the same content in more than one place. Google doesn't want you taking one website, cloning it 1,000 times, and having 1,000 different sites trying to rank higher. So if you have different content on different pages, that should be fine. You're not going to run into a duplicate content penalty. But I'm kind of curious why you have different content on one or the other, like how different it is.
Well, what you do want to avoid is, again, the faulty redirects, right? That the same, the URL would not have the same content on different devices.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if someone's trying to go to your desktop site and they're trying to read your About Us page, you want to make sure that you're redirecting them to your About Us page on mobile and they're getting the same content they're looking for. And if you're not, if you have a completely different mobile site and it doesn't have an About Us page, you might be in a circumstance where you do have a faulty redirect and Google will ding you for that. So that is something to be very careful of. Let's see, David's asking, does Duda Mobile have a database-driven platform that's integrated with Duda Mobile Pro? No, unfortunately, we don't have access to a database within Duda. It's just right now informational sites only. We do have blog features, so we do have, you can create blog posts, and we do have some database in our sites, but you're not able to create your own custom database-driven sites on the Duda platform.
There's a question here, do you have a tool to find websites that are not mobile-friendly?
So, Garrick, you're trying to find people who need mobile-friendly websites. I like the cut of your jib, Garrick. Unfortunately, I don't have a tool to recommend for that. But if you're not already a Duda Pro or a reseller, I highly suggest checking out our Duda Pro program. Panos is saying, we've designed a mobile site from scratch, which is not directly linked to the desktop website. Is this recommended?
It's an interesting question. Like, if it's not connected to the desktop, so how are people actually discovering this mobile site?
Yeah, what you don't want to have is like a situation where you have to say, like, click here to go to the mobile version of your site. You don't want to have to do something like that.
Or make your customers remember a different URL for your mobile site. So these two have to be, it's not have to be, but it's recommended that they are connected in some way. There's multiple ways to achieve that. Our platform does it automatically. If you have any special circumstances, maybe you can reach out to our support team and we'll be glad to help you out.
Well, looks like these have been answered. I think Brian was going through here and answering some of these.
Yeah, we'll address these.
Nora, I'm looking at your content suggestions, and I think I agree with everything you're saying here about writing for relevancy, using keyword phrases in a coherent, non-spammy fashion, and suggesting to clients to do regular blogs, etc. I think that's really great advice, and I think a lot of your small business customers, if you're a reseller selling to other small businesses, and if you're a small business, that's I'd take note of this too. You have a lot to say as a small business. If you're a plumber, if you're an HVAC guy, you might have 10 tips for getting your heater ready for the winter, or if you're a mechanic, 10 tips for winterizing your car, getting ready for the snow for this winter, or things you need to be mindful of your car for summer, or there's a lot of information that you have that is really domain and niche to your market and your area of expertise that you can turn into blog posts. And the more people that are searching for that in your area, that are searching for car tips or what to do with summer or whatever, those are more people that are going to organically find your website and bring you more business. So it's a really good idea, especially for small businesses. And we have blogs now too in Duda, so it's very easy to do.
Okay. This is a question here from Sean Burgess that came up before. Maybe we can take a little bit of time to drill into this. Whenever I test the Duda mobile site, I always receive these errors. He's talking about the Google page speed, remove render blocking script, and optimize CSS delivery. I saw something on your site where this is being looked at by Duda to resolve any updates. So I don't have any concrete updates at this point, but I'll explain a little bit more about this rendered blocking JavaScript. Essentially, at the above the fold in our sites, very similar to any other website builder in the market, we all use JavaScript to render the site. So we need the JavaScript code to load when the mobile site or the desktop site is loading. Google is aware of this, and even though in a perfect world they would not want to see that above the fold, they realized that if you want to display an image gallery or you have some kind of other JavaScript elements, the JavaScript libraries need to be loaded. So they're not dinging you for this. It might reduce your score a little bit, but as you saw, like Duda sites overall score higher than many of the most well-known sites on the internet. So we are thinking of ways of how we can address it. And as soon as we have some updates, we will share with you. I guess.
Really great answer, Itai. Yeah. Good. That's a better answer than I had. Actually, it's more in depth. Let's see.
Maybe you'll continue inviting me to these webinars.
Maybe I will. Yeah, this has been pretty well. Let's see. David is saying, is it reasonable to use both Duda Analytics as well as Google Snippet Analytic for Duda? Absolutely. So we're going to record the analytics in Duda, and if you want to enter your Google Analytics ID into Duda, then you can also record it on Google Analytics and use more than one source, by all means.
Question by Shane. Hey Shane, how are you? So are you saying it's best to advise customers now that they should focus on making specific mobile content rather than just using what they have on desktop? Shane, I don't think we specifically said to create something specifically for device. Rather, what we said is that make sure that whatever you are creating is viewable on all devices, desktop, tablet, and mobile, and make sure that that experience is great on all devices.
Yeah, I agree with that. Nice to see you here, Shane. Shane, if you guys haven't met Shane before, he's the camel. So we actually had a webinar with Shane, so make sure to check it out in the Resource Center. Let's see, Craig is asking, why can't you use both www and non-www versions of URLs? That's a good question, Craig. The way that it's set up with Duda is that actually you would use both. So you'd set up the www with a CNAME. So when you go to www.yoursite.com, your website will load, and then you add what's called a 301 redirect to the non-www version. And that 301 redirect will just send anyone who goes to just yoursite.com to the www. And that's that way a person can enter either URL and then they'll still see your content. And that's how it should be set up. Let's see, Vika is saying how to prevent Google from penalizing duplicate content if I have both desktop and a mobile site on different subdomains. That's fine. If your desktop site's on one subdomain and your mobile site's on a different subdomain, that's fine. As long as you've entered this correctly into Duda, we're going to automatically put in a canonical tag into your mobile site, which lets Google know that this mobile site is the mobile version of this desktop site. Right. And so we'll point into it, whatever that address is, and you'll be A-OK.
So the question here another question from John, and should we go for responsive product versus m.site? So I think it really depends on the use case. If you have a customer who is open to a complete rebuild of their site or redesign, I would definitely go for responsive. That is one site under one URL, single domain that works well and is optimized for desktop, tablet, and mobile. On the other hand, if you have a different use case of a customer that has a website, he's not open to a complete redesign, he wants to keep his website, then creating an m.site is a great solution for that, where you can keep your existing investment, you latch on a mobile optimized version, and both solutions are totally fine from Google's perspective in regards to the SEO Mobilegeddon algorithm updates.
Great response. Let's see, we're getting a question here regarding mobile faux pas, penalties for pop-ups. How are Duda's insights treated, for example, for cookie notice or for an offer? So the cookie notice is actually a notification. It's a notification at the top. It's not a full pop-up. So that's fine because the little notification bar that pops down from the top and then it goes away again, that's perfectly fine. What Google does not like is when someone loads up a page and then the whole page gets grayed out and then there's a big pop-up window covering the page content saying sign up for our newsletter or download our app.
Yeah.
That's the really annoying behavior that's just preventing a user from having a good experience. That's what they're looking to prevent. The cookie notification is actually a legal requirement in Europe, so and it's a really subtle, just on the top of the page sort of thing. So that's perfectly fine.
And same thing if you want to let people know that there's an app, you can also use that kind of same mechanism of the notification and kind of redirect them to the put a link to the App Store where your app is hosted. But yeah, don't put a full page interstitial kind of forcing them out of that flow.
Exactly. Dave's asking if there's a way to add H2s and H3s in Duda. Absolutely. So you can add in, we call them large and small titles in Duda, and you can drag and drop those over into your site. And then in the text editing bar where you have like bold, italic, underline, you can actually just click the H menu and you can choose what H tag you want that title to be. So we'd recommend one H1 tag per page and then use the H2s and H3s to structure the rest of your content however you like.
Another question here from John Foster. Can we have some more template choices, especially for small businesses? I believe we're now at a pace of adding about, I would say, like 3 templates on almost every release every month.
Yeah.
So we're doing our best to increase the inventory of templates that we have on Duda 1. If you have some suggestions for templates that you would want to see for specific verticals, please feel free to email me, Itai, I-T-A-I, at dudamobile.com, and I'll be glad to forward that to our product team.
Yeah, also, John, just so you know, you can actually create your own templates too. So we have a template builder. So if you find yourself working with a type of business a lot and you want to create and customize your own template, you can save it into the My Templates area so that you can use it over and over again.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
David is saying, does Duda Mobile Pro have similar function to transferring mobile apps into the DM Pro platform? Well, no, we can't transfer mobile apps into Duda Pro or into Duda Mobile, so that's just, it's a different type of technology. Unfortunately, that wouldn't work.
Question from Warren. Third-party partners listed on the site for things such as quoting and pricing. Does that negatively impact your algorithm? I assume he's talking about search results because of time to download. So Cody, just the paid speed. I think what we said is that Google hasn't specifically said that paid speed is at the point a really serious signal, right?
Yeah, they said it's a minor indicator, but it's not a major indicator.
Major indicator. So now, if you're using third-party widgets or other people's code on your site for things like quotes and pricing, I assume what Warren is concerned is that affects the speed, the performance of the site, and maybe he's getting dinged by Google for that. Is that a reason to be majorly concerned?
I mean, if it's really affecting your speed, I think, Warren, the thing I would do is I'd go and take your site as is, see what your page speed is, and if you're in your high 60s or 70s, you're probably fine. But if you're in like the 30s or 40s, I would go ahead and take that third-party code out, republish your site, and go back and test your page speed and see what the difference is. See how much they're actually affecting your page speed. And if you see a huge boost when you take them out, you might want to reevaluate whether you include them on mobile or not. All right.
So do we want to take a few more? I see there's hundreds of questions here.
Yeah, this is never ending, and I see we're already 25 minutes over, and this is...
Let's maybe try to take like 2 or 3 more.
Okay, that sounds good. What was your email again? So you can email either of us, Cody or Itai at dudamobile.com. Let's see. Lily's is saying, if a prospect has a non-mobile friendly site, would you recommend to try to convert their website or just sell them Duda Mobile? If they don't have a mobile-friendly site, I think you've got to look at the customer and say it's in their best interest to go with a responsive website now. Go with dynamic serving like Duda is probably in the long run going to be the best because they're going to need a new website eventually. What's it going to be, a year, 2 years? They're going to need a new website. If they're not willing to do that now, maybe in the short term you sell them just a mobile-only site, and you could do that if you want. But the long-term goal should, of course, be a new website that's fully responsive with dynamic serving.
What Chris is asking, what are the best ways to increase loading time? Because my site loads slow. I think one area that is usually a kind of a pitfall what I've seen is really large images. Mm-hmm. So there's several tools out there that can really maintain compress your images, but still maintain that same sharp quality that you have. I think one of the I think the Google's page speed test will let you know, will recommend to you if it feels that your images are not compressed, right, Cody?
Yeah, they'll let you know, and so they want you to not only compress your images using a tool like JPEG Mini is a great one. I'd look. There's also one for PNGs as well. They want you to compress as much as possible, like compressing your what's called minifying, like your CSS, or minifying your JavaScript if possible. So those are all things to check out. I do want to let you know that when you use Duda, when you upload an image to Duda, we automatically optimize that image. We actually create 5 different versions of it at different sizes and resolutions that we use depending on the device and where the site's being displayed. So we take care of a lot of that for you. Of course, if you go ahead and upload a minified version or a JPEG Mini, run your image through that before you upload to Duda, it'll probably be that much faster.
There's another question here. Do you think SMEs are aware of Mobilegeddon? How to convince them that they have to be mobile friendly? Good question, and I think a lot of SMEs are probably not aware. They're not reading the same material that we are, and it's our job to educate them. So what I would do is probably take their site. If it's not mobile friendly, it will. If you run it through the Google Mobile Friendly test, and we've posted that link before, it will receive a warning, and that's something that I would share with the customer. You could also link to the Google blog talking about Mobilegeddon or any. There's hundreds of articles out there about Mobilegeddon, and basically tell them that they're at a great risk of being penalized by Google. And if that doesn't work, well, I don't know really what will.
Yeah, I'd send them this. This is what I'd send them.
Yeah.
Because my site is mobile friendly, and I have a nice friendly green bar. But if your site's not mobile friendly, you get a much less friendly red bar warning you. And when you're sending them something just from Google, it says like, hey, Google is telling you that your site's not mobile friendly, and to get it mobile friendly. That's not coming from your mouth. That's coming from Google.
And that's Google.
Yeah.
You don't mess with the Google.
Yeah, you don't mess with the Google. All right. Cameron's saying, Duda has a great way to ingest content for the customers on their website, social media pages. Can you please talk a little bit more about canonical issues? What do we need to know, and how to avoid with canonical content? I think the biggest concern, Cameron, that we really wanted to mention here was just to avoid the duplicate content when it comes to creating a separate mobile-friendly version of the site. If you are taking your content and you're reblogging it or putting it on other social media platforms, clearly that's just not going to apply. But you do want to try to maybe tweak the content a little bit to really just avoid copying and pasting it. One way to do that is to rewrite the content from a different perspective. If you have a list of top 10 tips, you can turn that into 10 things to avoid, and try to change the content for these other platforms. That kind of gets more into like an overall content marketing strategy.
So, Cody, looks like we're kind of 30 minutes past the hour, and there's still a lot of questions that we didn't get to. What would you recommend, the folks who didn't get a response, what would be the best way to send these questions to our support team?
Yeah, if you guys, if you had a question and we weren't able to answer it for you today, the best thing to do would probably be to just email your question into support@dudamobile.com. And we'll get it. If you have a question for me or Itai specifically, feel free to email either of us, Cody@dudamobile.com or Itai@dudamobile.com. If you want more general Duda help, support@dudamobile.com is going to be your best bet. And then, of course, we will be sending a replay out to everyone who registered. So we'll be sending out the replay. I'll link to download the webinar for today, and that will be going out to everyone tomorrow. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining today. I think it was really great. I'd like to thank Itai for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. It was fun.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.